Hey, what's good, everyone? Twisted here with the Open Sorcery, and today I want to go ahead and talk about swallowing ground. Now, generally speaking, what is that going to be all about? Pretty much, we're going to be leaning heavily as a reference point on an analogy for removing corruption by 2Pac's Shakur. The deceased rapper that, if you listen to hip hop quite a bit, he's one of the cornerstones of that genre. Nevertheless, right? While his analogy was more so within a political and a socio-economic sort of sense, this is going to more so be utilized, of course, within the framework of spirituality and metaphysical things, the esoteric, the occult, and so on and so forth. All that sort of good old woo-woo stuff. And generally speaking, right, when it comes to that realm of things, when it comes to the swallowing ground, right, think of Mother Earth, or Gaia, as the Greeks referred to Mother Earth as, an embodiment of the overall divine feminine, and being able to, in relation to it, and going ahead and utilizing it or interfacing with it, have it as a entity, a being, an aspect of all things to alchemize negativity. Now, I happened to recently attend a class on Tree of Life that called on Mother Gaia as the ground or earth, which relied upon connecting with the divine feminine through this particular aspect and persona from below oneself. And while the method was different in that sort of setting, that class setting, as a meditation before proceeding onward, it was something that went ahead and reminded me of this sort of topic that I already planned on covering, but was like, you know what? Pretty much right about time, or it felt appropriate. Nevertheless, when it comes to 2Pac's analogy in itself, what was it actually relating to? In this, once again, his manner of using it politically or socioeconomically. For him, it was all about the poor swallowing the rich. An analogy for removing corruption, I should say, in regards to the overall structure of society, and generally speaking, how it impacted, him as a black man in the United States of America, and how it affected him and fellow other minorities and even people of all other races and creeds that were downtrodden or suppressed by those in positions of power and influence. Now, I'm going to go ahead and actually read the transcript or the lyrics or what have you from the song Mortal Man by Kendrick Lamar, which he went ahead and, Kendrick Lamar that is, utilized an unused interview that 2Pac did over in Europe, in a northern European country. I do not recall exactly which one it is at the moment, but pretty much utilized an unused interview that did not get released during the lifetime of 2Pac Shakur before he passed away at the age of 25 or 26 or so, and pretty much used this interview and amended it to the context of the song Mortal Man and overall the album To Pimp a Butterfly, in which it was featured. So I'm going to go ahead and once again read the transcript of this particular section where 2Pac himself explains his own analogy. So here we go. Kendrick Lamar starts off by saying, I always wanted to ask you about a certain situation, about a metaphor actually. You spoke on the ground. What do you mean by that? What does the ground represent? 2Pac goes and says, the ground is going to open up and swallow the evil. That's how I see it. My words are bond. I see. And the ground is the symbol for the poor people. The poor people is going to open up this whole world and swallow up the rich people. Because the rich people are going to be so fat. And they're going to be so appetizing. You know what I'm saying? Wealthy, appetizing. The poor are going to be so poor and hungry. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be like, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be, there might be some cannibalism out this motherfucker. They might eat the rich. You know what I'm saying? And that transcript right there was a bit amended, but nevertheless, that's pretty much the gist of it, where the sort of impetus that is conveyed, that from below, if you want to say on a pyramid, a social pyramid, a economic pyramid, a class pyramid, that foundation, the ground below, is going to swallow what is up above it in this sort of regard. And take that as you will, agree or disagree with his sort of prediction, you can say, or his own vision of how events may transpire within the United States or potentially globally. But take this sort of idea and let's go ahead and take it as the analogy for what it is in removing corruption, whether it be from, once again, the financial structure, the political structure, and more so in regards to how you can apply it for oneself in a spiritual context, an energetic context, in a overall helping yourself sort of manner. Now, visualize a massive hole in the earth, the ground below you, and have that be something in the forefront of your mind as black or brown energy is deposited into it. And for my own workings, I envision rays of light or fire melting the impurities away as it falls into a large chasm. You can utilize that sort of manner of visualization. Now, in doing that, right, you can go ahead and add whatever other aspects to it, but that being the core of said visualization that you utilize when wanting to rid oneself of negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative attachments, anything that may be tying you down, dragging you down, kind of like encasing your energetic bodies, your aura, whatever you refer to it or understand it as, that is not allowing you to feel the best, think the best, be your best sort of self, right? Now, there are many magical texts that utilize this sort of visualization, and in relation to spiritual practices, it's often for purifying oneself of that aforementioned negativity in general, or performing more advanced rites or rituals. And I'm going to go ahead and reference a particular text that has something similar to what I described for at least my own sort of workings, but it's going to be based in the same idea of the earth taking away that negativity, that impurity, and it's going to go ahead and do it in a different sort of way, but still within the context of swallowing ground, or swallowing earth, you can say. So the text I'm going to be referencing, and is one that I often reference for very simple practices and methods, is Ritual and Essential Grimoire by Damien Eccles and his wife Lori Davis. Now, generally speaking, this is going to be very, very, very simple, and such as it's written in the text in the book itself, it's only like one page, and I could say like 5 or 6 sentences across 4 quote-unquote paragraphs, or 4 breakages. But I'll go ahead and read that right now, and of course you can check it out in the book itself. Once again, it's Ritual and Essential Grimoire by Damien Eccles and his wife Lori Davis. So this particular practice is called Sink into Earth. Here's a very simple and powerful ritual for grounding with the earth while indoors. Lie on the floor and relax. Visualize that your body is sinking into the ground, down through all the layers of soil, through the bedrock, down to the center of the earth, to the lava that will burn out all of your impurities. After your cleaning, pull your body back up through the earth to the floor. Arise renewed. So, if you need to, go ahead and rewind for whatever platform you're listening to this on, and you can go ahead and hear those instructions again, or get yourself a copy of the book through whatever means that you have, physical, digital, and if it's digital, whether it's you going ahead and paying for it, or if you have other means, that's your business. Nevertheless, you can utilize this particular method, or there are other texts that have similar sorts of manners of utilizing this sort of visualization, or audio sort of, things, audio prompts, audiobooks, videos, and so on. But go ahead and just, to wrap everything up into a nice, neat little bow, or come full circle, whatever, think about the swallowing ground, the swallowing earth. Overall, Mother Earth, Gaia, whatever name you want to attribute this part of the Divine Feminine, or this aspect of the Divine Feminine, being able to go ahead and help you become refreshed, renewed, being able to remove that negativity, those impurities for yourself, and allowing yourself to be able to do this sort of thing, whether it be on a daily basis, on a every other day sort of basis, weekly, monthly, whatever is appropriate for you, or hell, maybe just on a yearly basis. I would say the more frequent the better, in whatever way is best for you, whatever particular method is best for you. Or you could even just take this sort of context, this sort of idea, and maybe flip it on its head, or inspire you towards something different. But with that having been said, that's pretty much all I want to go ahead and cover in regards to the swallowing ground, swallowing earth, and, and 2Pac's analogy for removing corruption. So, with that having been said, this has been Twisted with Open Sorcery, and stay frosty, Neguses. Peace.